The program folder seemed to have a lot of different folders in it. Is it important for the user to understand what all these folders are?
Yeah, there are some folders. Well, I already showed in the first clip that if the shortcut has disappeared, you can go to bin and click the exe file to open the program itself. But you don't have to worry about the other files in this bin folder. Manual, the same thing, there's nothing interesting to you. But results and settings, let's have a look what we can find from there.
All right. So the results.
Yeah, that's if you save if you export Excel files, XLSX files, they will end up here unless you change the destination. So for example, if you remember, we were saving this default case, we were saving it with the name 123. So, and there are 7 sheets, 6 sheets with numbers from R1 to R6, and then 1 with charts. So the first one, that's what is in the top left figure in the results of the program itself. So you see there's year, and then there's area. For forest it was 20% initially, for cropland it was 80%. And then you can check the changes. So after 2050 there's no more change, all the numbers are the same, as you remember.
All right, so this is basically just graph number 1 in the results.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, what about the next one?
Yeah, that's graph number 2.
All right, okay.
So again, years in the leftmost column, and then carbon density, biomass carbon density in forest and cropland. As you remember, cropland carbon density was always 5, so you can see only 5s here in the column C.
All right. And I guess the rest of them are the same.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So R3, results 3 is for the graph number 3, so soil carbon density, and then there are the totals, or the averages in the whole landscape. You have the numbers here, and so cropland, for example, in cropland the biomass carbon density was 5 tons per hectare, but because only 80% of the landscape was cropland, so it's 0.8 multiplied by 5, which is 4. So on average in the landscape there is cropland biomass carbon 4 tons per hectare.
Okay.
And 5, yeah, that's the same as the 4 one, but for soil. And 6, that's then the total, like you remember from the results.
Yes, it combined everything. What about the charts?
These are the same charts as are in the graphical user interface of the program itself.
Right, so then I can easily use them or copy them into my own publication or whatever I'm working on.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. What about the settings?
Okay.
All right, that seems to have several different files. First is bootstrapping.
Yeah, that's something where let's have a look at that in the last clip. That's related to uncertainty.
All right. What about the next one?
Okay, maybe I could first explain this default file. That's the I have said so that Word opens these INI files, but this is all the information in the default simulation. As you remember, the years run from 2020 to 2100, for example. So you see the time span here. and then all the equilibrium carbon densities can be found from here. For example, biomass carbon at equilibrium for the first land use, which was forest, it's 100, and for the second, which was cropland, was 5. So you can modify these numbers here or in the settings of the graphical user interface.
Okay. Well, what about the next one, or default but 50?
Yeah, these two other ones. In this case, they are the same. Last session is something that the program automatically does. It saves, when you close the program, it saves the settings that you had. But if you want to but the next time you use the program, it overrides the settings in this with the same file name. So you should save your settings with a separate file name, with something. You should use the save button here. You remember there was a save button here in the top right. So you should use that and give a file name. For example, here there's the file name given default but 50 at start. So that was, if you remember in the previous clip, we changed carbon density values, equilibrium values at start to differ, and then we entered 50 here.
Right.
So that's the difference in this default and default, but with 50 at start.
All right.
So if I open this 50 at start, we can see the difference, where there's some additional also information which we don't need to worry about now, but we can see these actual settings. They are the same, except this one case, which we will see in a second. So these land use area at start, for example, in this default, which comes with a clean version that users have not modified of the program CarboScen, it's the same here, because that was not modified. But the only row which was modified in the program by clicking this one and then entering the value 50 here, that's the row which we can find here. So if you look biomass carbon at start, it is 50 for forest here, or for the first land use, and 5 for the second. And here in the default, it's 100 at start. So that caused the difference that we were looking in the previous clip.
All right, I see.
So you can, when you work with CarboScen, you can either work, maybe it's easier to start by modifying the simulations, or doing the simulations by modifying the settings in the settings tabs here. But later it might be easier to modify the settings in these INI files.